the late Queen, her whole message all through her reign was, things like we cannot change the past, but we can build bridges to the future. And Prince Charles, as he then was, way back in the late 60s, was trying to persuade his family to invite the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, who were sort of living in exile, to come over here. Said, wouldn't it be nice to get them over for the weekend? It might be quite nice to get to know her a bit and things. This was rejected by particularly the Queen Mother. So, he is obviously a conciliator. And so let's hope that his conciliatory skills have been put to the test today.
Well, I think the meeting between the king and his son had to happen because it would have looked very churlish if King Charles had been in London and at home, and Harry was, like just down the road, and they hadn't met. It would have looked really bad, and I think it would have looked very bad for the monarchy. Because people are going to go on and on and about it, and people will say, why couldn't he see his son? He's here from California for 4 days. So the meeting needed to take place, and the opportunity was there. I don't think anything terribly important will have been discussed, because if you haven't seen someone for 19 months and basically you haven't spoken to them either, you're not going to jump in at the deep end and get into a very involved conversation about why it happened, what went wrong, and whose fault it was. I think it will be a lot of platitudes, and Charles will say, oh, what he calls darling boy, he calls Harry, and Harry calls him papa, and he will say, darling boy, probably, why are you wasting so much money on legal fees? And that's a thing a father would definitely say to the son. And, are you all right? What's happening? And I very much, I'm sure at the end of the meeting, which would have been platitudes, because King Charles is a real softy, actually, and he obviously wants to have a rapprochement with his son, but he'd also be very wary about repeating anything he'd said. So I think that and Charles is not a great moral confrontationalist, if there's such a word. Like, he's very like his mother, the late Queen, who didn't like moral confrontation and would do anything she could to avoid it. So much so that when any of her children wanted to approach her about a difficult subject, she'd always find an excuse and go, oh, I got to walk the dogs. Whereas Philip was much more, to the point. But I think Charles is very like his mother. So this is not a happy situation for him to be in.
Well, I wasn't expecting the meeting, to be honest, for various reasons. Obviously, the things which Prince Harry has said in the past and has said even recently, we were led to believe that there was a sort of feeling of mistrust about anything that would be said to him. But I've always thought it was a good idea that they should meet. I think the king has been brilliant at keeping the door open all this time. He's never responded to any of the jibes thrown against him. And, given that the king is not terribly well and Prince Harry is living abroad, really important that they should meet. And, whatever comes out of it has to be better, not worse. So it's a step. I think that, for example, if something happened to the king and this sort of meeting hadn't taken place, Prince Harry's already got a lot of emotional baggage attached to him. He's miserable about his mother. He feels he's been let down one way and another. I don't think he's particularly happy in California, to be honest. And if this happened as well, it would be really quite a lot for him to cope with. So let's hope that that, in a sense, is a step in the right direction. If you're going to ask me, do I think that he's going to come back and resume royal duties? No, I don't think he is. I don't think he particularly wants to. And I think if he did, it would be a major distraction, because everything that Prince Harry does attracts publicity. And that would be, contrary to what the king was doing. It would be in conflict with what the king was doing. It would be a distraction.
It's very hard to know if the family will be reunited, because I don't think the rest of the royal family are that keen to be reunited with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, because they've said some very hurtful things. Obviously, the king has to pave the way first, and he needed to see his son. They probably discussed finance and what Harry is doing. And I think that they wouldn't even have to talk about the problems. I think all they needed to do, and probably all they really did do, was, you know, meet and pave the way for the future. And obviously, the king wants to see his grandchildren. He's almost 77, and he's only met, I think, Archie twice and Lilibet once. And of course, he wants to see them. And of course, they need to be included as part of the family. So I think this is just the beginning of paving the way. And whether anything further happens or not, we don't know at this stage.
Once they've had one meeting, it makes it easier for them to have a second meeting another time. And one of the problems I've always seen on this issue is that Prince Harry has been saying for a long time, oh, my family has to apologize to me. Well, that's not how I see it. I think he has to apologize to them. He is the one who's been saying unpleasant things about them and making trouble, and they haven't. So, you know, if it's literally a cup of tea and a chat and how are you and how are you getting along, that's all good. It's all a start. It's very important for people in this world to conciliate. You know, there's always a chance for things to be put right and for conciliation. It requires, I'm sorry to speak generally, but it requires two sides to be prepared to compromise. And with this meeting, you have seen a step in that direction. You've seen the king saying, yes, please come and have tea with me. And you've seen Prince Harry saying, yeah, I'm coming to tea. I would like to come to tea and I'd like to come and have a chat. I gather that he was there for about 55 minutes. That's quite a long time. You can get through quite a lot in that time. And I'm sure both of them will be feeling better for having had this meeting. Where it actually leads to, who knows? But it's a step in the right direction. I see nothing except positive things out of the meeting. I'm not sure how much positive things I see coming as a result of it. That's another matter. But that's all in the future. It's a step.